Paige, thanks for joining me today. I have to start with a message I received from a friend who I reached out to a month ago, offering to help him with his outreach on LinkedIn because I could tell he's sort of trying, but not really trying in the right way. I think a lot of people think this way about LinkedIn, and I just wanted to read his actual message that I got from him because I have a feeling you get this objection from people about LinkedIn just doesn't work. So I'm going to read it. I don't think there's much business opportunity for me on this app. I really just started it when I was looking for a job and haven't done much since other than auto postings by one of my lenders. He's in that space. Wh- What do you think of that in terms of,
Mm, yeah, I like it. I do get this a lot, and I think right away I would ask, like, who is he as a person? Like beyond being a lender, beyond like that space. What is he up to in his life, and like who is he? And then the other question is like, what is he looking to bring into his life? And that's something that, like, if we can think beyond this tangible like outreach message to closed deal, like there's so much more that can come from LinkedIn. Like we met on LinkedIn and now here we are. So if you can expand your mind to like what could be on LinkedIn, that's when the world gets like so much bigger. um so yeah, I think he needs a little bit of like expansion of what could be, you know.
what what's one of the more extraordinary things that has happened because of your presence on LinkedIn?
Yes. So I started using LinkedIn. I People view it as like a resume and job board, but the thing about LinkedIn is when you have a strong presence on there, like you've spent some time building your personal brand, or you know how to research different people, different companies, you can actually use it as a place where you are in control of your opportunities. So there's probably, well, there are thousands and thousands of people applying to a remote job, say on LinkedIn, or this really awesome culture company. But if you have a presence on LinkedIn or you know how to do outreach in a way that's clever and it stands out, you can land opportunities more directly rather than applying. And so all of the jobs I've ever worked at, I've gotten through LinkedIn, but not through applying, through like finding the exact person I want to work with, messaging them, getting on a call, going through that way. Um, the other thing that I've gotten is just once I was in sales, like everyone was cold calling. They give you a script of what you're supposed to do in sales, right? And I was like, this isn't for me. And so I started building my personal brand with a little bit of my personality, but really it was talking about the product I was selling. And that was this unlock for me of I was getting inbound messages of then they associated my name with what I was selling. So it's like if anytime we need this, we hit up her. And then my job was to just build my brand. And then I had that other unlock of like, well, this is a tech product. Like what if I could create more impact based on what I truly believe matters and like the point of view? Talked about travel, talked about nomading, talked about my spiritual path, talked about my depression journey, my spiritual awakening, and that I feel is the medicine that people need. And from that, yeah, I've had so many different opportunities, like podcasts that I've met. Probably the most crazy thing I've gotten from LinkedIn is meeting my boyfriend on LinkedIn.
Wow.
So this came from a coffee chat I had with one friend on LinkedIn. That friend knew my now partner. And we both were in South Africa at the same time, both posting authentically about that because at the time we were both in roles, so we didn't have to be posting about South Africa. Most people don't, they don't post in their personal life. But I do say it's a testament to like being authentic, because if he wasn't being authentic and I wasn't being authentic beyond our titles, we would have never connected. So I would say that's the craziest thing I've gotten.
That's pretty crazy. um let's go back. So what caused your to go from I want to call it corporate life to your spiritual awakening? How did that unfold?
Yeah. So I was in, yeah, corporate. I was in a tech sales, like startup role and business development for at that company like 3 years. And It was difficult because when I started there, it was my dream role. Like for so many years, I remember meeting people because at that time I was nomading for 3 years, all through the company I was traveling to. I would meet another digital nomad on the road and they're like, "Why are you working at a company? Like, you should have your own company. Entrepreneurship is amazing." And I remember being like, "I have zero interest right now. Like, I love this company. It's amazing. Like, I don't know why people don't want to work at a company." So, for a moment in time, it was exactly what I was looking for. I was growing really quick at the company and I loved it. And then I went through a period of yeah, I think just when you change internally, but also as the company evolves and changes and grows, their mission can change to more like profitability centered, less around like culture or purpose. And for me, I think looking back, that was a huge, I could feel that shift. And so when I lost kind of the purpose of the meeting beyond profitability in a way, it was kind of like, that's the main reason that drives me as a person. And so at the time, too, I was living in Cape Town in South Africa, and I had gone to see Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
No.
He wrote The Power of Now, which is a book I really recommend. So I had read that book. He was in Cape Town, first time ever in Africa, and I went to hear him speak. And so that was the beginning of it was like him planting a little like seed of, yeah, like his mission is to awaken society while he's here in this lifetime. And so that was the beginning of that for me. And then I had done breath work, a lot of breath work sessions, which was really powerful for me when I was going through a hard time. And between the first breathwork session on one Friday to the next breathwork session I booked for the following Friday, I had this strong intuition of I need to leave my job like within 1 week, which was quite intense. Of course, I had been thinking about it, but the breath work is this modality for me that really brings the answers to the surface. And from there, it was, yeah, the decision to leave with no clear plan other than that I just knew something else was coming for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you have Were you living like a lot of Americans live, paycheck to paycheck, or did you have a decent amount of savings, or were you really like going all in on this just out of nowhere spiritual awakening?
Yeah, that's a good question. I had a safety net for sure. So the thing I was so grateful about is being in tech sales, like you can make as much as you put into it, right? And so with the combination of LinkedIn and I kind of nailed that angle of like inbound leads, I would do really well. There was 1 month from all inbound messages on LinkedIn, I hit quota, surpassed quota at like 3 weeks into the month, which it was just like, wow, it was such an unlock. And that was what made me so excited about LinkedIn. And when people sleep on it, like, oh, it's not for me, it's like it's a gold mine. You just have to figure out like what you want to have it, you know, co-create with you what you want. Um, so for me, no, I was really grateful and I was intentional about saving. And I also lived in spots that weren't in the US that I actually could save even more. In a way, South Africa, I was living in Mexico, I was living in different spots in Europe. So there is a misconception we have as Americans that like if you travel, you have like this surplus of income. But for me, I don't have a base. So it's actually I'm saving money by traveling. So I had that advantage too. And I knew I had a lot of time that I could pause and wait and, take a sabbatical, take time off because of how I had set myself up and saved from, leveraging LinkedIn and having those sales opportunities. So I was in a position that it made sense. It wasn't just like this. I trust the universe and I haven't paycheck to paycheck. Like that would not be my recommendation to anyone. It would have to also have a little bit of logic of like it makes sense. Yeah.
Um, so in a way, you're figuring out LinkedIn just naturally happened because you were in tech sales, and I'm guessing how long ago was like when you really started going all in related to tech sales on LinkedIn? Was that 3-ish years ago?
Yeah. So before the last company I was at a different Shopify app, so in the tech space too. And I was using LinkedIn a little bit in the beginning on business development side of that as well. But I would say probably it's been about 5 years of using LinkedIn. And the way I've used it has really shifted. And that's also how I help people because sometimes they're like, I love what you're doing, but I could never post like that. Or like, I could never be that authentic. And it's like, it's so gradual. And it's like, I meet people where they're at. Like when I was in tech sales, I was not posting anything close to what I'm posting now. Like the most vulnerable thing I did back then was like showing where I was working. Like, oh, I'm working in a co-working in Greece, and that was like scary for me. So it's really gradual, and the beautiful thing is that it can evolve with you. And that's the biggest thing with LinkedIn. People think I can only show up once I have a title, once I'm clear, once I'm out of this transitional period, once I'm a founder. And it's like, if I waited for that moment, I would miss all of the growth in the community I've built along the way.
It's kind of like a retirement account, the compound growth. If you put in enough time consistently, you'll wake up one day and be like, wow, I built this. Whatever it is you want to be doing, it's just there for you. And it's always an asset now that you can sort of milk when you need money or consistently milk it for money. It's I guess I realized that
Mm-hmm.
probably a year and a half ago, like the real power of LinkedIn. If you get things right, figure out your ICP and your messaging and your free offerings and reaching out to people. But it's really crazy once you get it dialed in, how
Hmm.
much business you can create, whatever it is you're doing. Um,
Yes.
Random question. I love to hear people's honest take on this. Hot take. Have you ever used the open to work?
Haven't.
Okay. Your opinion of it?
Hmm. I've never been asked this actually, but yeah, I guess I don't have the strongest opinion. What comes up for me though is like I said, I believe there is a stronger strategy that is way stronger than the banner of open to work. For me, it gives off a little bit of like surrendering at all costs, like I'll do anything versus I prefer to be in the driver's seat of my life. So it's like I know I want to know the exact founder I want to work with, the exact company, the exact culture, and then I am going to message that company, that person. So for me, I just don't see myself ever using that. I can understand why some people do, but I think it almost feels like, oh, I'm open to anything. Whereas, like, I think there's a way you can build your strategy and a strong personal brand to then be able to work where you want to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
I
about you?
I I think it's a sign of desperation. And I every time I see one of those nice little green circles in my feed, I will click on the profile, and 99% of the time they know nothing about LinkedIn and have nothing optimized, and you can't figure out what their past roles are, what they want to do with their future. It's just all over the place. It reads like a CV. And so I think people think it's an easy button and they don't realize it's 2026, and it just doesn't work that way anymore. Like a recruiter's not going to
Mm.
reach out because you have this green little circle. Um, and I think
Yeah.
people are just lazy. I hate to say it, but
Mm.
come after me in the comments. I don't care.
I agree with you, and I get a lot, which this is something that is my like red flag for people. Like I don't answer if I do. It's very direct, but it's like they will message me like, "Hey, I see you're connected to these people. So here's a huge paragraph of what I want to do for work." Not even the role. Like, I would love to work there. Here's my paragraph resume. Here's my cover letter and my resume. Like, thank you. Could you please refer me? And I'm like, one,
Who are you?
no. One, who are you? Two, why are you sending me a paragraph like unsolicited to get you a job? And three, your profiles, you don't even have a profile photo. So I would start with optimizing your LinkedIn. And yeah, like also the audacity to ask someone to do the work for you. It's like, first, update your profile. Two, find the role you want. And then three, like maybe at that point say like, I've already done this. You're connected to this person. Can you make a connection? But to just offload all of your credentials to a stranger. It's just, yeah, I agree. People have gotten lazy, and it's it's sad because they're taking the power out of their own hands. So they could empower themselves to be like, yes, I can create this. But instead, they're just like open to work bubble and just waiting, right? And it doesn't work like that, especially in this day and age.
No, you have to be very proactive to get if you want to get an actual job, then I mean, you have to go through crazy amount of hoops to pull that off. And then also, if you're trying to create your own thing, you have to do, I would say, 10 times as much work to make sure everything's aligned to convince people to spend money with you. Um,
Yes.
let's go back. I know you sort of touched on this already, but when did you I hate this word. I hate saying cringe, but when did you start posting things that people consider cringe? Like
Yes.
what was the gateway to like being yourself on
Yes.
LinkedIn?
Great question. So the word cringe, it's funny because how the ripple effect came to be, I had had the idea of like, I naturally always help people with LinkedIn. At my last company, I was helping my coworkers with it. I've helped friends build profiles. Like I've always been like, you need to be on here. So I've always been passionate about it, but I about 2 years ago had two gals reach out to me that knew me from LinkedIn, and they said, "Can you come in to our community and do a mastermind on um how to be cringe on LinkedIn essentially?" Like that was what they asked. And yeah, I think cringe is a word that people use. And I think cringe is like our own reflection of how it makes us feel, which is interesting because it's like at this point, doesn't feel cringe to me. It feels like so good and it feels so real. But when people interpret it as like, that's so awkward or like, I could never, it's just a mirror of their own fears and their own projections, which is something I've learned over time. Because at one point I did feel that. And then it was like, I have to look at myself and see why I feel being myself is cringe. When did I start? Like I said, it was gradual. So I remember though, after I left my role without this title, without like a paycheck looming over me or my performance looming over me, it was easier to be more open because sometimes, actually, if I'm being really real, in sales too, if you have a month where you don't hit quota, right? You have a month that happens. And then I'm out there like posting like, oh, I'm
They'll come
traveling
for you.
here.
They'll
Like
come for you.
I naturally am like, oh, should I be posting if I'm not excelling? And so that was hard. So I think once I had no title, it was just like ripped the band-aid off of like, well, I have nothing to lose other than attracting actually who I want in my circle. So I remember it was like a couple months after I had left my corporate job, I still was figuring out what I was doing. I was posting all the way through being like, no, I don't know what I'm doing, but I built a strategy around like, who do I want to connect with? Like, what is the overall theme of my brand? Um, and I posted a photo, I remember, of me in a baseball cap, like, but backwards, which I wear all the time. But for some reason, that thought like I could never do that on LinkedIn, which why, right? It's a hat.
Ooh.
Yeah. But I remember that was this like, it felt good. And then all the comments of like, wow. But now looking back, that's like, that's nothing for what I share now. It's like me in a hat. It's like, oh, but it's gradual. And that's the growth edge too of like what happens when you show up and it's a little uncomfortable and it's a little scary. And that's why I created the ripple effect is because I was doing this all alone. So I put that post up and I have like one like in an hour and it's scary. And so I'm like, I don't want any other people who are going down this path to feel alone, to feel like it's just out in the abyss and they don't know. And so, like, it's a huge part of the community of like, I'll reread your content, I'll help you with your content. You can share it with me before, you can share it in the community right when you post. Like, it's a little bit more comforting to allow you to feel safe to then be more seen.
Yeah. I just have to share my own personal experience because I sort of uh, operated another person's LinkedIn account for about a year and
Yeah.
did a lot of his posting, which he never wanted me to post actually authentically or really tell anything about him personally, which to
Mm.
me is crazy on LinkedIn these days. Um,
Mm.
And he said to me one time, "I don't like your style of posting the way I'm posting on my LinkedIn." And the funny thing about that is I could have taken that and, like, listened to it, and because that was my only paycheck at the time, be
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I'm gonna listen to him and sort of uh, subdue my posting and not be my true self." But then I realized
Mm.
I get DMs all the time of people going, "Oh, I relate to this." Like they might not say it in the comments because they're afraid also because of the cringe or whatever, but they'll reach out in the DMs and be like, "Oh, I relate to this," or "How did you do this?" or "How are you in France?" or whatever it is. And then I would look to his DMs that I have access to, and it's ghost town. There's
Yeah.
never anything. And to me, if you're not getting DMs daily from people, then you're not posting right. You're not being your true self and you're just trying to sell. And that just
Yes.
doesn't work on LinkedIn anymore. So
Yes.
I just wanted to
Good
share
for you.
that.
Good for you. Because also like, yeah, you want to be doing work that's in integrity too, and then also for your own brand. Like that's the best thing you can do is show up how you want others to show up as well. And with the DMs, it's so interesting, and it really is what fuels me on days where it's like, why am I doing this? You know, you'll have these moments, but I get so many DMs of people saying like, I read all of your stuff, I don't like it, I don't comment because I don't want my boss to see, I don't want my friends to see, I don't want my partner to see that like I agree with you or that I'm spiritual in any way. And that is my why too, because sometimes even like for your content or your clients' content, like people might resonate, but they might not like it. And that on our ego side is scary. Like, oh, I didn't get that many likes because this, but you never know who it's going to impact. And so, yeah, those messages I get of like, I read it, I just can't like it because I'm that out of alignment that I don't even want people to see that I like it. And that's like breaks my heart of like, I'm going to keep writing for these people. And even if I don't get X amount of likes, it's bigger than that. It's like your why, that what is your mission on your heart? What do you want people to hear?
What's your with I feel like LinkedIn is kind of all over the place in terms of what works. Like sometimes you feel like you figured it out and then the next day you have a complete flop. But in terms of what's working for you, and I didn't analyze every post you've done in 2026, but um, is it just like the random things that are unique to your life that are maybe doing better than more salesy type posts, or where like you really try to craft a story and do where it's just literally be like, my dog did this and it'll just blow up? Is that what you're seeing on your end? Because everyone I've talked to about LinkedIn strategy, it's like the most random, like an Oreo cookie recipe blows up
Mm,
100,000 views, or I bought these running shoes, or whatever it is. It's like literally the most random thing about your day to day, and people, like, I think are so desperate, like, to feel connected on those
mm.
little things that people have in common.
Yes, I've seen that. I think it's back to your intention of why you're even on there, right? So content like this, I see a lot of marketers, social media marketers now entering the LinkedIn space, and it's funny to watch because yeah, their posts will blow up, but then I'm also like, what is your goal of this? Like what, yes, it has a lot of like likes, but are people like, do they know who you are and what you stand for and what your mission is? Or are you making people laugh? Maybe that's your why, and that's great. But I'm noticing people getting kind of lost of like virality out for what? Like for what?
Mm.
And also I see this with vulnerability. Like I see people like being so raw that I'm like, I want to give you a hug and I feel you might maybe should delete this unless like there's a reason. So I'm the first one to say an authentic vulnerable brand is powerful. But if there is a reason behind, like an intention behind that, where maybe your ICP will really, really resonate, and then they want to hire you as a coach because they went through the exact same hardship you did. But to just be like, this is my raw diary, I think it doesn't feel good energetically to you. And also, like, what is the why behind it? So I think with virality, with the trends, for me, it's always important of like, why are you sharing this in the first place? And then in terms of what's doing well and how I help people, it's like I work with who I say is like leaders or visionary leaders who have like a mission and they stand for something and they want to essentially be a thought leader in their space. So with that, it's a combination of Like I always say, your personal story, your why, your personal story is your superpower, because what happens to you today on a Thursday, no one else can ever post about, because this is your life. So that's important, but also not just storytelling all the time, because you also want to be known as for something, for a thought leader. So it's getting clear on like when they think of Paige, what do I want them to think of? So for me, it's like the ripple effect and LinkedIn personal branding. So if I only post funny memes or something and it can go viral, it's like, okay, but are they going to know what I'm up to, or like the change I want? So right now it's really a combination of like thought leadership content, so you have a strong stance in what you believe in and what you're building, and then to mixed with personal stories, all that are tied back to like talking directly to your ICP. And that's what people miss a lot too. They forget like who they're talking to. And essentially, you should be able to send your post in a text to your ICP and it would like hit home. And
Mm,
I think if people check that more, their brand gets way stronger, because you're not just sharing like anything, you know?
hmm. You mentioned very quickly the ripple effect. What's the ripple effect?
Yeah. So the Ripple Effect is the company that I started 2 years ago now, almost 2 years ago. And it is a global movement to get more soul led content on LinkedIn. We have a lot of other missions off of that, but that's the main one. And the way that we do it, so I offer a 3-month coaching program, which is helping you build your authentic personal brand on LinkedIn. There's a lot of LinkedIn coaches out there, but not a lot of them are teaching authenticity. They're teaching you their playbooks of how to go viral. And I really view it as like I say, an inner journey to go outward. Like you can't build an authentic personal brand without knowing who your authentic self is. And that's what people are trying to do. So it's a group 3-month program. We run that cohort twice a year. That cohort's specific for soul led female leaders. And then I also work with leaders and founders one on one. And that's on a way more personalized basis of like, yeah, like holding their hands on the whole process of what is your vision? What do you want to be known for as a thought leader? What is your product that you're promoting? And what is the strategy, um, day to day, week to week, of how you get to that point as well? And then we also do monthly mastermind sessions, which is one of my favorites. So bringing together people, because I love the connection piece, but I like conversations. I like live, you know? So we do those every month, monthly masterminds with a different topic, but they're for soul led leaders that really want to shift the frequency of the platform and make it more real, because it can be very, as you've seen and know, very corporate rigid. Um, Lots of masks, lots of people pretending, like excited to announce posts. It's like, how can we get away from this way we feel we have to be on there and get deeper into like connection and your true self? Yes. Last month we did a mastermind which was like being human on LinkedIn is your superpower in the age of AI. And it was a hot take because everyone's like loving AI, but I we had a good showing and a lot of people were on board of like it's gone way too far, and like we've lost the plot. Why are we using so much AI? One AI bot's talking to another AI bot with an AI profile. It's like really scary. It's really scary.
I I think it's a bubble, to be honest. I don't want it to be because I think it's going to crash the world economy, but I think it's the biggest lie that's ever been told, and it's going to happen one day where we're going to find out the truth of how terrible it all is, and we're all just going to be like,
Mm,
okay, no more, and they're going to pull the plug, and I don't know. It's scary times. Um, in terms of being realistic with LinkedIn, the one thing I do know is that you don't have to have a huge following anymore to get reach to start to sell your services. But what's a realistic time frame to start to see traction with LinkedIn and starting to build your presence and your branding on there?
good question. So 3 months, I say the first 3 months you start posting, all you should care about is authenticity and consistency. That's what I believe in. I think a lot of people at first post for 1 week and then they check their stats and they're like, what do I need to change? How is that hook? And I'm like, if you can go heads down and be consistent, and whether that's twice a week you post or once a month you post for 3 months, consistency is more important than frequency of how often you're sharing. Especially, I see some people write amazing and then they don't have time, so then they use AI and it's so clear, like their voice versus AI. It's like, I would rather you post consistently, less frequently than all the time. So 3 months, you should just be focusing on consistency and authenticity. At that 3 month part, I would recommend then you go back and see like what content resonated the most, which got you the most aligned followers, because followers don't mean anything unless they're in your ICP. And then in that first 3 months, really getting clear on why am I even on here, which is tons of different reasons. And then getting clear on your ICP. And then the hack, which I'm not sure if you're doing, but every single week with a free LinkedIn account, you have 100 connections you can send. So this is the most powerful way to take control of your own growth, because you can think of these 100 connections as 100 potential clients, right? Like if you know your niche, especially if you don't have that big of an audience, but you're hyper niche, I recommend going through connecting with 100 perfect potential clients, and then your content should be speaking to that person. So when they connect, it's like, boom, instant, you can help them. And then it's that outreach that is an intentional, good outreach message that's not copy and paste, but it's actually interested in what the synergy is. And then, yeah, in 3 months, you can have many new clients, essentially, if you go by that playbook and you're sending out those every single week with the strategy of like how you can actually help them too.
I spent probably 6 months trying to convince a team of 4 people to do exactly that. And no one ever did it. And it blew my mind. Because
Wow.
basically give them a list of these people, and all you had to do is click on the link and send a connection request, and they still wouldn't do it. I'd be like, how many did you do this week? 5. I'm like, okay, well, in 30 years, you'll have 1,000 followers. I mean, it's not that
Yeah.
hard once you get locked in to do that weekly to really, I mean, I don't have a huge following or anything, but that's how I first started getting traction with what I was selling at that point. And it's,
Amazing.
it's free.
It's
You just gotta
free.
go and do it.
And you know what, too, is that can always change. So for myself and how I help people, it depends on their goals. But a lot of people I work with are coaches or healers in some way, or they run retreats. And so maybe 1 month, all of your connections that you send out go to potential people for you to help coach. But then the next month, maybe you're like, ooh, actually, I want to go on podcasts. So you're connecting with podcast hosts, or you want PR articles. So you're connecting with the PR articles that you want to be in. Or maybe the next month you want partnerships. So you pivot. So it's like you can use these so powerfully. It's just that people aren't, right? Or they're not
Right.
thinking about it that way. But I'm always thinking about like, who do I want to connect with and why and how? And then going out and doing that. It doesn't always have to be like clients. It can be something more expansive too, of like just these types of people. There was a moment in time I was just going through and connecting with people at LinkedIn. And then I had people reach out to me from LinkedIn because we were connected. So it's like always shifting your goals of what you want, you know?
Yep. Yeah, target these people that you really want to get seen by. And the great thing too is you don't ever have to sell them. Just give them love on their post over a consistent amount of time and never try to sell them. And eventually they probably will reach out to you because they'll be like, man, this person comments thoughtfully on every post I do. Maybe I'll return the favor, or maybe I'll DM them and be like, wait, what's this service? It's
Yes.
it's just giving your time into it. It's crazy how you can change your life with doing those little things on LinkedIn, and no other social media can you target and do that. So
Yes.
it's a very powerful sales tool.
And that's
Uh,
the power too of a title. Like there's a lot of people who aren't optimizing their title. And what I mean by that is when you comment, the first couple of words, there's a way to test it, but that's what they see. And so you can have 100 connections on LinkedIn. Maybe you just started. But if you optimize your profile to say like, I help chefs with like this, and then you comment on all of these chefs' LinkedIn posts that's so clear. And so you don't need a big audience. You need like a trustable photo that feels like you, and then a title, and then value. So like there's a lot of power right now too in commenting. Commenting like value, not just like nice post. That's not going to help you. It's like thinking of comments like a mini post on people's feeds too.
Exactly. The headline is your little billboard, and it's amazing the power, the work that can do for you if you get the messaging right in that little billboard in those first, what, 40 characters or whatever it is. Uh, I just want to share one more story and then let you plug your stuff and let you go. But I had a post go viral yesterday, and there was a guy in there who was doing the typical troll thing, but like in a friendly way. And
Yes.
he literally, like 15 comments in, was like, this is exactly my strategy, is to sort of irritate people. And because of it, he's like, I've gotten 3 DMs and 3 people want to work with me. And I wrote him like, dude, where's my cut here? Like, you totally hijacked my viral post, which is great. But like
Yeah.
there's so many unique ways. I'm not saying that's the best way to do it, but if it works, it works. And if you figure out like your method, you can just
Yes.
consistently do it. And really, it's crazy. I also heard someone who responds to comments of like really big creators, that like after a couple of weeks of their posts, when you know they're not going to respond to their own comments anymore to people that are commenting on their posts, is then you answer the questions, and then they basically go, oh, forget this big influencer, I'm going to go to this person for my, for my answers. And so you can
Yes.
steal an audience that way as well, and still I mean, I wouldn't, it's not the best way, but I mean, if you're desperate to get your business going, that is also another way.
Yes. I have so many ghostwriters comment on my content, which I love, but it's like it's smart for them because people that are viewing my content are interested in LinkedIn. So it's like, oh, right in there. I want to share another tip for people, for you and for people listening. I'm sure maybe you do this, but you can hit people's bell on LinkedIn when you go to their profile, which means you get notifications when they post. And so I recommend typically like 3 thought leaders of people who would have the same audience. Maybe there's another podcaster that has an audience that would be so similar to this audience. So, for example, with me, Gary Vee, I love his content. I resonate a lot. It's personal branding. So I subscribe to him. And when I see his content and notified, I try to comment earlier the better because then my content's up there with value. And same with like any other thought leader that is a similar mindset. And then two, you can follow other people who are your potential good fits for clients. And so then you're commenting on them, but it helps you like with a strategy with, okay, even if I did 6 comments a day or a week, whatever, these people are the best. So I recommend utilizing that so it feels less daunting than just scrolling like, what do I say today to who? So
Hmm.
an intentional commenting strategy is also really powerful. But that comes after you like solidify your strategy and your own profile because a comment without a strong title, like you said, is not as powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not going to get people to click onto your profile at all.
Right.
I do that strategy. I'd actually need to kind of go back and figure out who I want to press the bell on, because I'm a little all over the place with that at the moment.
Yeah.
What would you like to plug, or where should people reach out to you? Your website or DM you on LinkedIn?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It was so fun. I also love talking to others that are like LinkedIn advocates or just they understand the
Obsessed.
power. Obsessed. Like I love it because not everyone is. And I feel sometimes I'm like, just you wait. Like I'll talk to someone, they're like, nice. Yeah, I love Instagram. And I'm like, we're early. So I'm like, just wait until you're asking us later of like, what happened? Like, I think I need to go on LinkedIn. Now I understand. So it's nice. It's really energizing to talk to someone who gets it.
We're in the cult.
We are in the LinkedIn call. Where can people reach me? Yeah, my LinkedIn is Paige Goldstein. And the website is betherrippleeffect.com. So that's the best place if you're interested in applying to the one-on-one coaching or joining the 3-month cohort. The next cohort for this year starts in August, and it's open enrollment right now for anyone who's interested to join, and it's the early bird period this month. So Yeah, those are the best spots. And if anyone's interested in connecting deeper and you've gotten this far, like send me a DM on LinkedIn and I would love to speak to you.
Perfect. Thanks again, Paige. This had a lot of great information. So whoever watches this is going to learn a lot.
Thank
I wasn't
you.
expecting that. Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you.